Look, guys, Elon Musk just got approved for a $1 trillion compensation package. Look, that's more money than most countries make in a year. But here's what nobody is telling you. For him to actually get this money, Tesla would have to become worth more than Apple, Microsoft, and Google combined. And the math behind how this could either make Tesla shareholders incredibly rich or completely destroy their investments is absolutely wild. So, look, let me break down exactly what this is going to mean for your money. Look, I'm Courtney Hale. Welcome to the Investing Uncomplicated YouTube channel, where we help everyday investors make their money and the market make sense. Look, y'all, they just approved a $1 trillion compensation package. Yes, $1 trillion. There are companies that are traded on the S&P 500 that aren't even worth $1 trillion. This is completely changing what CEO compensation looks like. But here's the deal. Is this a good thing for Tesla or is this a bad thing? So what we're going to do is, look, we're going to break down what this compensation package means, how Elon actually gets this money, because this isn't like most CEOs' compensation. It's not like he just go to work, he do his thing, they're going to pay him in cash and shares. This is actually a little bit different. All right. So this compensation package is purely performance based. It's purely based on milestones that he has to hit. All right. So him just showing up for work, going to a few meetings, doing some press conferences, that's not going to get him paid. All right. He actually has to hit performance measurements. So what does this mean? So let's say if you work in sales, this would mean that you don't get a base salary. You only get paid if you sell a product or sell a certain number of products. All right. So let's jump into what some of these metrics translate into for Tesla. So number one, Tesla today, it's about a $1.5 trillion company. Okay, that's where they are today. So in order for Elon to qualify for the entire $1 trillion compensation package, in order for him to get all those shares, in order for him to get all of that money, the company would need to get to a $8.5 trillion company. So this is not a little bitty jump. This is a huge jump. Now, there are performance bumps along the way. So Tesla needs to grow by $6.5 trillion in order for him to get his full payout. So if we were to just look at like what type of growth rate we're talking about, the company needs to grow 466% in order for him to get there. This is 6 times bigger than they are today. All right. They're going to need to add roughly $7 billion in value every single year for 10 years. All right. $700 billion in value that they're going to have to add every year for the next 10 years. So to put that into perspective, $700 billion is bigger than the entire value of Walmart, Coca-Cola, Netflix, or even Disney. All right. That's just the growth rate. That's not what they have to do at the end of the 10 years. That's the growth rate per year. So they would have to grow faster than the size of several blue chip companies that you're already aware of. So if we think about if this is possible or not, so is there any basis for companies doing this in the past? Okay. It took Apple 42 years to become the first $1 trillion company. All right. So they became a $1 trillion company in 2018. So from being founded in 1976 to hitting $1 trillion in 2018, that's 42 years. Tesla became a $1 trillion company in 13 years. Okay. So now they have to add 7 trillion more dollars in value in just 10 years. All right. So it took them 13 years to get to 1. They got to grow 7 times that in the next 10 years. So do y'all think that that's possible? Is it possible for Tesla to grow that fast over the next 10 years? This is basically like building 5 new Apples from scratch over the next decade. All right. So for the most part, there are really only a few companies that have even hit that $1 trillion mark. Okay. There's like 5. So in order for Tesla to get there, they're basically recreating 5 more Teslas over the next decade. All right. So let's keep this in perspective. So we're trying to figure out, number one, did they make a mistake by agreeing, voting on, approving this compensation package? Or is this so far like unreal that it'll never happen? For me, you know, if I'm negotiating a package for myself, I'm including some things that I know that I can do. All right. And so I believe that Elon knows what Tesla is capable of. So he negotiated this package in a way that would give him an insane amount of compensation. But look, let's talk about this a little bit more. So if you own Tesla stock today and they hit this target, this is going to mean that your shares of Tesla will be worth 5 times what they're worth today. So in 10 years, you will 5x the value on your Tesla shares. Now, you're going to own a smaller percentage, but listen, we don't care about that, right? Because even if it's a smaller percentage of a larger pie, we're benefiting. So let's talk about some of the milestones. And this is where it really gets interesting. So the milestones are broken up into different categories. All right. There's like the profitability of the company is a category. There's a category about growth. There's a category around production. So let's talk about these different categories. So the first category is the first level that they need to accomplish is Tesla would need to become a $2 trillion company. If they become a $2 trillion company, Elon's going to get a portion of this compensation. That's really not that far-fetched considering they're worth about $1.5 trillion now. So they only need to grow about 30% in order to get there. Looking at the next 2 years, that's really, really possible for Tesla to do that. Some of the profitability targets. So profitability starting at $50 billion in profit. With their final big number is being profitable at about $400 billion. So the first part of his incentive is if the company profits $50 billion. That's like level 1. All right. But then like level 10, where he reaches the full production level, the full performance level is if the company reaches $400 billion in profit. So Apple is the most profitable company in the world. They make about $50 billion a year. Okay. So Tesla, in order to reach the peak level of performance, will have to have profitability that's 8 times Apple over the next 10 years. Now, some of the product targets, I actually think the product targets, this is the most interesting part of this entire package because the product targets reflect the fact that what we know Tesla as today, they're not going to be that. Okay. This is really, really telling. So the first part of this is they would have to manufacture, produce 1 million robotaxis. Okay, these are the vehicles that you could summon through your mobile device. It's kind of like Uber, but without a driver, and it would always be a Tesla. So the goal in the next 10 years is for them to have 1 million robotaxis in commercial use. Check out this second one. 1 million humanoid Optimus robots delivered. So Tesla, as we know it as an electric vehicle company, is transforming to be a robotaxi, robotics, and AI company. They want to have 1 million humanoid robots out in distribution. This is a robot that will be in your house. Okay. This is like AI, but in robot form. They call it the Optimus. Here's the crazy part about this. All right. They got 10 years to get there, right? Somebody asked me how many robotaxis are in use right now. Then somebody else asked me how many of the humanoid robots are commercialized right now. I'm going to pretend that somebody just dropped this in the comments. All right. There are 0 robotaxis in use at this moment in 2025. Let me say this: there are 0 robotaxis. There are 0 robotaxis for commercial use right now. The Optimus, the humanoid robot, it isn't even for sale yet. Like, they're still in development. So imagine making a bet on yourself for something that doesn't even exist. Like, to me, that's like, okay, he's pretty confident about the possibilities of getting there. Because, when you're negotiating your compensation, you're not negotiating based on something you think you can do. You're not negotiating on something that's out of your reach. You're going to negotiate this compensation in a way that you're going to get your bread. So if Elon is saying there's going to be 1 million robo taxis for commercial use in the next 10 years and 1 million humanoid robots, y'all, this is coming. It's on the way. This completely changes the way that we live. So the crazy thing is, we hear $1 trillion compensation package, and we're like, $1 trillion? Like, one person is going to get a compensation package worth more than countries? But to me, it's even crazier to see what this company is about to be. The movies that we've seen, iRobot, I don't know, Terminator, even an old Rocky movie. I remember one of those Rocky movies, like Rocky 2, I think it was. They had that little rolling around like Star Wars looking thing in their house. Like, this is really happening, y'all. So look, there are some concerns with this compensation package that investors and people that sit on the board are concerned about. They're like, is this giving one man too much power? What happens if something happens to Elon? Will the company still be able to carry out these goals? Does Elon even want to continue to work for Tesla? Because Elon has some other companies, right? There's SpaceX, there's XAI. He still owns X, as formerly known as Twitter. He is basically the CEO of 4 companies. Imagine if you had 4 jobs paying you a full-time salary. If somebody started tripping, you ain't finna sit around and deal with that mess. You like, man, I got 3 other full-time jobs paying me the same money. I'ma just go over here. This is a real concern that investors have. All right. Here's the other thing. Elon's last compensation package is tied up in court right now in Delaware over a number of different things. And so it's crazy to have approved a new compensation package when the other compensation package is tied up in court. So you may be wondering, well, why would they even approve this? Well, let's keep it 100. Elon has proven himself. He created an electric vehicle and infrastructure through Tesla that we've never seen. He has influenced several areas of our lives, from not only product and business based, but we've even seen his involvement in politics. He has a track record of executing. He wanted to start a company that would commercialize space and allow people to travel to space, live there, go back and forth. He's done all of these things. So he's the type of person that you don't bet against. And so 75% of the Tesla board approved this new compensation package. Look, what has this done to the stock? The stock actually hadn't moved at all. Okay, after the compensation package was announced. And that could be a combination of people think that it is so far-fetched for him to hit these goals that they're not moved at all. It could also be that there's a huge fandom of Tesla, and no matter what the news is that comes out, people will always invest in this company. What do you all think about a CEO making $1 trillion or having $1 trillion compensation package? Is this the type of company that you want to invest in? All right. Listen, comment below your thoughts. Also, if you're interested in learning more about investing, you know you should be investing, but you don't know where to start. I host a free beginners investing class every Sunday and Thursday. This thing is free, y'all. You can register. There's a link in the description that will take you there. Be sure to stay tapped in. Follow Tesla as a potential investment in your portfolio. Look, make sure you subscribe, share this video with somebody that you love. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.